Hi there, and welcome to this YouTube channel. My name is Bart, and this video is episode 5 of my build for Great Guitar Build Off 2022. Well, if you've been following the build, you might be wondering just how much work I managed to get done in this episode. I've got to tell you, it felt like it wasn't a lot, but in hindsight, looking back at all the recorded footage and editing, I realized I put in quite a bit of work, and we'll get to that soon. But if you haven't watched the build and you don't know what I'm up to, then I'd suggest watch episode 1 and 2. In episode 1, I talk about why I'm building and the design inspiration, and in episode 2 I talk about the guitar itself, and that might give you a bit of background before you get to this episode. And of course, ideally go back and watch episodes 3 and 4 as well, where you'd see what I did before I got to the point where I started in this video. What about this video? Well, in this video I continued work on the neck of the guitar and started on the aluminium parts of these sound holes. Now, some of you may have heard me talk about them and wondered exactly how they fit into the design of the guitar and what they will look like. Well, watch this video and you'll find out. Also did some work on the body, and at the end of this video I'll show you where I am right now. Meanwhile, go ahead, grab a cup of coffee or tea, whatever else you'd like to drink, and sit back and watch. I'll see you at the end. Now, with the scarf joint, I hand cut it, and it wasn't as clean as I would have liked it to be, so I had to do a bit of planing. And when I glued up, I actually glued up too far up, which meant I had to end up planing the top flat even after the glue up. Initially, I thought I wouldn't have a long enough headstock for a 6-in-line design for the tuning machines. But in thicknessing the headstock, I realized if I cut the material off the top, the face, rather than the back of the headstock, I would still end up with 180 millimeters for the headstock, which is long enough. And this is the first time I'm using a spoke nut truss rod. I had to cut a bit of access through the fretboard, which I've never had to do for any of the previous builds where I use a traditional truss rod with access through the headstock end. My wife was very nice to let me use her metalsmithing jewelry making tools. So I used her fret saw, her workbench, her pin, but she did tell me that I didn't push it in all the way, as you can see here. And the first day when I started, she was in the office, so I was communicating with her on some things through WhatsApp, and I managed to get it sorted out. But then she came back and she saw what I did and realized I wasn't using the tools the best way they should be used. So she gave me clear instructions, and day two, when I continued in the second part, I found it much easier and much smoother. So these aluminium parts will connect to the body with M4 bolts connected to threaded inserts in this part of the body. And I needed to make sure they lined up, and that's why I had to get the aluminium parts ready before I could figure out exactly where I needed to drill for the threaded inserts, which is why the body has remained in two halves till this point. Now that I know that the threaded inserts are in the right place and the aluminium parts for the sound holes will fit, so I can go ahead and glue the body. But before I do so, I figured it was best to finish the insides because I won't be able to do that once the body is glued. So if you watch that, there are two key questions at the end. One, I had channels routed for the pickup cables. Once the body is glued, do they still work? Well, the good news, as you can see here, is that they do. I was able to put the pickups in and reach in and pull the cables out. Not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it was sufficient and it works. One thing I forgot to do is to drill the holes for the switch, or switches. I've decided to use two. I've also got the neck to this point. The next step here would be to work on the inlay. I've cut out the parts. So the inlay parts, I've got to first figure out exactly how to color them to the colors required, then inlay them, and then of course shape the back of the neck, take the fretboard down and finish the neck. Oh yes, and of course frets, that will be done in the next episode. And with the body, we'll have the neck pocket done and it will be glued in. I think by the end of the next episode we'll have everything glued up, and what will be left beyond that will be the finish, the hardware, and the soldering, and then we'll have the guitar playable. Thank you for staying with me till the end of this episode. If you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed and you'd like to continue following, then why not go ahead and click that button to subscribe. Take care of yourselves, your friends, your family. I'll see you sometime in the middle of August rather than the end of August, because, well, I'll tell you middle of August what's going to happen after that. See you. Take care. Bye.